Hello and welcome to White Horse Music TV! My name is Richard Bodina and I'm co-owner of this lovely shop with my lovely wife, Michelle Bodina, who plays violin and viola, but sadly not both at once. So today I am showing some cellos to Sue Ann, who is going to be a beginner cellist in New South Wales. So hello to New South Wales. New South Wales in Australia. The cellos that I'm going to show to Sue Ann include this one, which is called a Struna classroom. Now this, my friends, is our most popular cello. I'm coming very close. You can see my new extremely close haircut there as well, which is excellent. You can see it's a very sort of like walnutty brown looking cello. And it's really nicely antiqued. You see how the wood sort of fades to the edges there? There's a few scratches, like very mild scratching to make it look like it's a very old cello. This is a new cello made to look old. But some cellos are a little bit antiqued and some are very, very antiqued. I'm not antiqued, I'm just on the age that I am. But this, you can see the wood is beautiful on the back there. It's got nice stripy maple. And yeah, that is a beautiful looking cello, I reckon. So that is the Struna classroom. And I should say the Struna classroom, that wood on the front is Russian spruce, which rings really well, makes a nice big ringing strong sound. But yeah, it'll be interesting when I play it to see whether it does have that big strong ringing sound. Because the reputation of a particular cello says that it has a big, strong ringing sound doesn't necessarily mean that it does. Now, cello number 2, and I'll get Struna classroom out of the way so they don't have a physical battle before we have a sonic battle. So this one is a Paganini 500. I'm not even sure if I've done a video for a Paganini 500 before, but these Paganinis is sort of like a newer brand to us. We've had them for maybe a year or two. It's a less antiqued cello, I would say. I'd barely say that is antiqued at all. There's no scratching on it, no purposeful scratching, but it is beautiful wood. Once again, it is a bit walnutty brown. And I'll show you the back so you can see the flaming on the back there. You have really beautiful wood on the back there. It doesn't have the Russian spruce, it's got Chinese spruce. So maybe the wood is not as expensive and not necessarily with the reputation of giving the big strong ringing sound, but you know, this is another individual cello, so it may or may not sound big and strong and ringing. It may sound soft and mellow and relaxed. We will play it in a moment. So that one's called the Paganini 500. And I'm about to show you the next one, which is called the Paganini Vintage, which is a very, 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 very different looking cello. See, it's a more reddish looking cello, and I'll bring it up close, and it's quite antiqued. And it's really well done. You see the fading to the edges here is very accurate to some old cellos that I've had in the past. It's a reasonably common varnishing technique in new cellos these days, and it's a technique that I associate with a good sound as well. You know, the varnishing of the cello makes a big difference to the sound. A big, thick, heavy lacquer on those cheap cellos that look really shiny can make them just sound horrible. They can sort of hold the wood in place, not let it vibrate the way it wants to. With these really beautifully varnished, hand-varnished cellos, often, you know, that will improve the sound. But the back of that one is extremely well, beautifully flamed. So this is in slightly different price range as well. Still below the $1 million mark. So it's still within the price range for Sue Ann, who is the person who we are demonstrating these cellos for today. So I'll bring it up closer so you can see the reddishness up close. There you go, beautiful. All right, well, I will play these cellos in the order that I showed them to you. And once I've played them, then you can like this cello video, and then you can, in the comments down below, tell Sue-Ann which cello that she should buy. And then Sue-Ann will ignore you and buy the one that she wants. She might go with what you say. All right, let's give this one a try. So this one's the Struna Classroom Cello. That is a bit different to what I associate with Struna classroom cellos. I would say it's not as big and strong and bright as the usual Struna classroom cello. It's more on the mellow side, and it's very, very smooth. Very beautifully even, and it still has that ring that Struna cellos tend to have, you know, the sustain of the notes. Smooth, sustaining, beautiful and mellow, I would say. And which is words that I'm not used to associating with Struna cellos necessarily. Oh, they can be mellow, but they're often more on the big and strong and bright and soloisty sort of sound side. So I will jump over to Paganini 500 and see how this one sounds in comparison. Okay, there you go. So this Paganini, I would say, definitely has a little tiny bit of a volume edge over the Struna, which I'm just not used to saying. So it's got a little bit of a volume edge, and possibly is very, very slightly bassier on the bottom, with maybe similar amount of ring and sustain as that Struna. So, you know, like in this particular case, the Struna maybe is the sort of cello that you can play nice and smoothly and beautifully in your bedroom to relax, where the Paganini is slightly more out there in terms of its strength, its personality. All right, now let's see how that compares to this Paganini Vintage. That was different. So, yeah, this Paganini Vintage sounded definitely a lot deeper. A lot deeper. I could feel my body shaking. If I put my head against it while I was playing the C string, I'm sure I'd get blurred vision. It was so bassy. It rang a lot. Really, really strong and deep. Yeah, really big difference in terms of volume. All right, now maybe what I'll do is this time, first I should say I have different strings on each of these, and that's because, you know, each cello I think wants different strings. Like this cello definitely wanted, these two here are called Larsen Strings, the A and the D strings, and they needed a warmer sort of sounding strings. Otherwise this Paganini Vintage might have been too bright on those top ones for me. And then on the bottom I've got Kaplan strings, which are a high-level American string. So, and the other two have a different setup. Once again, they have helicore strings on the bottom, which are other American ones, and Larsen on the top. I often use those Larsen strings at the top just because they're nice and warm, and they, you know, sometimes cellos can be too bright on the top strings, and so you need to calm them down, and sometimes they can be too mellow and muddy on the bottom strings, and you need something to brighten them up, and that's what I've done with this cello. So there you go. Now what I might do is I will play them all one after another without talking in between. I'll go back in the other direction. All right, so Paganini Vintage first. Serious. Okay. The Paganini 500. Possibly had more clarity going on there. Let's see. Struna Classroom. That's very smooth. So after playing them again, definitely the Paganini Vintage has a lot of depth and strength. And I went over to the Paganini 500 and it was nice and clear. And maybe that comes from not necessarily having as much depth as the Vintage. Sometimes depth of sound makes things not necessarily as clear, but it's still a clear sounding cello. Anyway, so definitely I found the Paganini 500 to be nice and clear. And then the Struna Classroom, in this particular case, I found a drop in volume, but it was nice and smooth, and I started finding myself playing in a smoother sort of way. So that was interesting. But please tell Sue-Ann down below which cello to buy. Preferably tell her to buy all of them, and that will make me happy. Thanks for watching. Bye.